We continue now at the top of Daf Yadalit Amud Beis in Meseches Rosh Hashana. This is Rosh Hashana Daf 14b. The Bryce over here continues. Echad kedivrei Beis Shammai v'echad kedivrei Beis Hillel. Again, Rabbi Akiva conducted himself like both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. The case over here was he picked the esrog on the first of Shvat, so he wasn't sure whether the Rosh Hashana had already come like Beis Shammai, or maybe Rosh Hashana for Ilanos was really 2 b'Shvat. So therefore, he treated this particular esrog like it was both year 2 and a year 3 esrog. And so the Brisa continues. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says, "Lo minag Beis Shammai or Beis Hillel nagba." No, the case with Rabbi Akiva was not a situation where he was conducting himself like both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. That wasn't the suffix. Ela minag Rabbi Gamliel v'Rabbi Eliezer nagba. Rather, the issue was whether the halacha follows Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer. He ended up conducting himself like both Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer in the following Mishnah. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, this is a Mishnah in Bikurim. Esrog shava le'ilon begimel derachim. It says in the Mishnah that an esrog we consider it like a tree in 3 ways. U'liyerek b'derech echad, and we consider it like a vegetable in 1 way. Shava le'ilon begimel derachim. It's considered like a tree in 3 ways for the following halachas: la'orla v'l'revoya v'l'shvius. When it comes to the halachas of orla and revoya and shvius, all of those halachas rather, we follow the formation of the fruit. We consider it to be like a tree. We follow the chanata. Uliyerek b'derech echad, but it's considered like a vegetable in 1 regard. Shebeshas likitasu isuru, meaning when it comes to the halachas of maizrus, there we consider it like a yerek because we follow when it is picked. Divrei Rabbi Gamliel, that's the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Eliezer says, Esrog shava le'ilon l'chol davar. No, when it comes to an esrog, we treat it like a tree. We always follow chanata. By all things, even with regards to meiser, we follow the halachas as if it's a tree. So in any case, that's what was going on with Rabbi Akiva over here. Over here, the situation was that the esrog was formed, the fruit was formed, let's say in year 2, but he only picked it in year 3, and he conducted himself like both Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer. He gave both meiser ani and meiser sheni. He gave meiser sheni as if it was year 2. He gave meiser ani as if it was year 3. But the Gemara continues, is it really possible that Rabbi Akiva would follow both the chumras of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? Again, going in the first explanation of the Brisa, Rabbi Akiva is following both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel and being strict in both. But we learned in a Brisa, Liolam halacha kedivrei Beis Hillel. Really, the halacha is always like Beis Hillel. If a person wants to follow Beis Shammai, he can follow Beis Shammai. Kedivrei Beis Hillel. If a person wants to follow Beis Hillel, he can follow Beis Hillel. Mikulei Beis Shammai umikulei Beis Hillel. Let's say a person decides to follow the kulas of Beis Shammai and the kulas of Beis Hillel. He always wants to be lenient. So such a person is a rasha. Such a person is wicked. Mechumrei Beis Shammai mechumrei Beis Hillel. Let's say a person always wants to follow the stringencies of Beis Shammai and the stringencies of Beis Hillel. So all of Akas of Omer about such a person, the pasuk says, "V'achsil b'chosha cholech." The fool goes in the darkness. That's a foolish thing to do, to follow only the stringencies of Beis Shammai and only the stringencies of Beis Hillel. And rather, either you follow Beis Shammai all the time with their leniencies and with their stringencies, or you always follow Beis Hillel with their leniencies and their stringencies. And so the Gemara is saying, how could it be that he followed the stringencies of both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? And so the Gemara answers, Rabbi Akiva, Gemara istapikle. Actually, Rabbi Akiva, he was in doubt in terms of the tradition of Beis Hillel. He was following Beis Hillel, but he wasn't sure. V'lo yada, he didn't know. I Beis Hillel be'echad b'shvat amru, I b'tu b'shvat amru. He didn't know. Did Beis Hillel say that the Rosh Hashana for Elon is on the first of Shvat, or was it 2 b'shvat? And that was the doubt over here. The doubt over here was, is it year number 2 or is it year number 3? What is the Rosh Hashana according to Beis Hillel? And the Gemara continues clarifying the other opinion in the Brisa. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says, Lo minag Beis Shammai or Beis Hillel nog, but it's not that Rabbi Akiva followed both the practice of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, Ela minag Rabbi Gamliel of Rabbi Eliezer nog, but rather he was following both Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer. As we said, he wasn't sure whether you follow the formation of the fruit or the time that it's picked. But the Gemara says, 1 second, B'echad b'shvat k'Beis Shammai nog, but the case that we had in this Brisa was Rabbi Akiva picked the esrog on the first of Shvat. So we're saying he picked it after Rosh Hashana. Is he following Beis Shammai that the Rosh Hashana for Elon is going to be the first of Shvat? And so the Gemara answers, Rabbi Chanina v'yitema Rabbi Chananya. Rabbi Chanina says, and some people say it's Rabbi Chananya that says, Hacha be'esrog shechantu peirosav kodem to the idach shvat askinan. The case over here was that this esrog actually formed, the fruits actually formed before Tu B'Shvat of the previous year. Uvedinu afilu kodem lachen, and really the case could have been where he picked it after that Tu B'Shvat. It didn't have to be the first of Shvat. It just happened to be the case was he picked it on the first of Shvat. So the case really was that he was following Beis Hillel. He was following Tu B'Shvat. The fruit formed before Tu B'Shvat of the previous year, and he picked it after Tu B'Shvat of the previous year. And the Gemara continues with another answer. Ravina says, Kroch v'tani. You got to wrap up this bryce and teach it all as follows. Lo echad b'shvat hayi. You understand as follows. It was not, the case was not that he picked the esrog on echad b'shvat on the first of Shvat. Ela tu b'shvat hayi. The case actually was he picked it on tu b'shvat. It was the Rosh Hashana of Beis Hillel. V'lo minag Beis Shammai Beis Hillel nagba. And it's not that he conducted himself according to both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. No, he followed Beis Hillel. Ela minag Rabbi Gamliel of Rabbi Eliezer nagba. Rather, he conducted himself like both Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer. As we said, he wasn't sure whether to follow the formation of the fruit, the chanata, or when he actually picked it, so he treated it like both. He treated it like both a second-year fruit and a third-year fruit. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabba bar Ravuna. Rabba bar Ravuna says, Hashta do Amar Rabbi Gamliel esrog achar lekitaso isuro ki yerek. Now that Rabbi Gamliel said that by esrog we follow like yerek, we follow like a vegetable, and we say that the meiser follows the time that it's picked, so Rosh Hashana shelo Tishrei. So when it comes to esrog, the Rosh Hashana is actually going to be Tishrei, just like a yerek. It's not going to be in Shvat, rather it's going to be in Tishrei. And so the Gemara continues, Meisvei, they ask the following question. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Liket esrog erev Tu B'Shvat. Let's say the case is a person picks the esrog on erev Tu B'Shvat, ad shelo tavo hashemesh, before the sun sets, v'chazar v'liket mishatavo hashemesh, and then he goes and he picks another esrog after the sun sets, after Tu B'Shvat. So the halacha is, ein tormenu ma'asr mizal zeh, you can't take off trumas and ma'asros from one esrog on the other. Lefi she'ein tormenu ma'asr, lo min hachodesh ala yashin, because you're not allowed to take off Trumas and Meisers from the new on the old and the old on the new. In other words, in this case, Tu B'Shvat is the Rosh Hashana. So the one that was picked before Tu B'Shvat, that's going to be considered from the previous year. And the one that's after Tu B'Shvat is from the new year. And Haisa Shlishis Nechneses L'Revius. And so Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar continues, let's say the situation is that it's year number 3 going into year number 4. So Shlishis Ma'aser Rishon and Ma'aser Ani. So the one that you picked in year number 3 before Tu B'Shvat, so the person will separate Ma'aser Rishon and Ma'aser Ani. Because again, in the third year, you don't take Ma'aser Sheni, you take Ma'aser Ani. Revius, and the one that was picked in the 4th year, Ma'aser Rishon and Ma'aser Sheni, then you're going to take Ma'aser Rishon and Ma'aser Sheni. And so again, you see over here in Rav Shimon ben Elazar, clearly he's considering Tu B'Shvat to be the Rosh Hashanah in terms of this esrog, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Tezvav Amud Aleph.